The whole dialogue was about, I love that the whole dialogue was about, I haven't started recording yet. Let me start recording. And then the first thing Webby goes to is like shit that we shouldn't be talking about.
I'm not going to go into any specifics.
What was it? What were you talking about?
Like,
I'm not going to go into any specifics.
And completely unprompted too. Like there was no like lead into it. There was no anything. Dex is like, what are we talking about?
I don't even know what you're
saying. And I'm not touching that at all. All I'll say is it's been a while since we talked, fellas.
Yeah, is everybody feeling good? I know people were under the weather, and like I have my parents in town. I couldn't make it. So how's everybody doing? It's been a little while since I've seen you.
We're good. I'm catching up on sleep here, slowly but surely.
Yeah, how's dad life? You got.
It's good. He's sleeping through the night.
That'll last for
he's shitting aggressively. He's farting aggressively.
Nice.
But he's good. He's good. He's smiling back at me now, Webby, which is just
it's amazing.
What a feeling. Oh my God.
What I really liked is when I would leave when Ivy was really young, I would leave and then come back and then have her like understand that I'm back and be super pumped about it.
Oh, that's great.
That was
I love that. Yeah. I can't wait for like the belly laugh stage.
Oh, yeah.
That's still gonna be fun.
For some, like Ashley's sister was recording. For some reason, the first time Ivy like laughed as a baby, and it's unreal. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you know what else is cool? Goal songs. No, I'm joking.
Especially when they're Kid Cudi. No, did they take it away? Have they they've rescinded it?
Like what? They got rid of it because of the Steve Aoki. It's too sad, and it's the Steve Aoki version. Like what?
They got rid of it because of the song lyrics that obviously weren't even played during the part of the goal song celebration. But someone's a narc, right? Someone's a narc and like complain and was like, "Oh, there's lyrics in this song that are inappropriate and they reference drug use and drinking and driving. I don't think this should be the goal song." I got to say something, okay? I'm over the whole goal song debate. I'm over the whole thing.
Thank you.
But what I will say is, because nobody else is going to be honest about this and just say this out front, and I'm going to tiptoe around this very carefully. But why the fuck are we bringing this up now when it's like a black guy kind of hip hop song that we're worried about lyrics in a song? Because if you check what they replaced it with, has anyone checked that out? It's some like Van Halen song. What's it called? Panama? Is that a song, Webby? I don't know.
Yeah.
Called. So
what does that have to do with the Leafs?
Yeah, Van Halen. What did I say? Did I say Van Halen? I don't know what I said. Anyways, my point is, if you take a look at what that song is about, it's just terrible innuendo comparing a woman's body to a fucking car. That's the song you replaced it with. And we're going to have this whole debate about, well, it can't be this because this has references to whatever. But all these motherfucking rock songs that are all about the same partying and drug use and alcohol and all this stuff, no problems there. Let's just plug that in, boys.
Bro, it's part of a bigger thing. It's part of this like hockey is for everyone. That is a total sham. Like,
okay, I didn't know. I was hoping that's where you were going with that, but you summed that up perfectly. Yes.
No, the pride tape is another example of this, and it's also an example of like, listen, a goal song's not going to grow your game, but it is when you're talking about the biggest franchise in the NHL using a rap song that's performed by a black guy that scored every time fucking Auston rips the net.
Shouts to Auston.
Shouts to Auston, of course. It's a deal. It's not the biggest deal. And then for the old, like, and this kind of ties into what I was saying in the beginning with the suits. It's just the suits worried about covering their asses because they're worried that it's going to affect the bottom line. When if they had somebody who had some common sense saying, hey, you know what? Players being able to express themselves by putting pride tape on their sticks, this is a good thing. It like pretty much full stop, because it is going to do what you set out to do, which is grow your game. And every time you go against something like this and say, well, you know what, Kid Cudi talked about drunk driving, so we can't play this song. It's going to come off as really disingenuous when you then replace it with a fucking Van Halen song that's all about exploiting women. Like, what are we doing, guys? Like, you have this whole fucking marketing campaign that, like, hey, hockey is turning a page. Well, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when it comes out about these players kind of standing up for themselves, that maybe hockey and hockey culture is turning the page, but from the top down, you're getting that suppressed. Hockey's not being able to be given the chance to relate to younger people, to reach out to different audience, to be a very progressive league, because the leadership of these teams and of the league is pushing that effort down. So it's brutal.
Like, my thing is, like, I'm not the what about police. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do here. My point is to call out the hypocrisy of the stupidity of this whole debate on what the Leaf song should be. Like, if you want to go find some like Barney song, I love you, you love me, and play that after every time Auston scores, cool, because no one's going to complain about that. Like, my point is, this is all just dumb. As Timmy Heggs, I think, solved this months ago when he said, just ask Auston what the hell song he wants to hear and play that song, because my man's going to score 65 this year, and let's cook on that. But miss me with the whole pretend we got to lose Kid Cudi because of lyrics in the song, and then we'll replace it with some rock song that, like, hold on. Let's do this for a second here, because I want this to be like, here's a line: hot shoe burning down the avenue, out an on-ramp coming through my bedroom. What the fuck do we think he's talking about in the lyrics of this song? Right? And we're going to just be like, okay, well, let's just switch it to this rock song because it's about nothing. It's just about rock and roll, good times. Yeah. Miss me with all that, man. Yeah, and 100%. if we're not, I'm stopping myself there because I was going to
go. No, don't say it.
No. Because here's the thing, right? We have certain discussions in this media landscape, in these things where people talk into microphones. And the biggest thing we always talk about is actual diversity and actual genuine talk when things matter. And because there is a lack of diversity, there isn't people on the other side to call out the bullshit like this, where it's like, oh, let's just replace this song with this song that's the exact same fuckery. Right. And like, when you have it, like, I understand the lens of how these things are built out, because you're trying to make a song, a goal song that's for everyone. I saw Timmy Heggs last week, and we were talking about the goal song, and I said, you know what? The Pursuit of Happiness, I'm okay with it because it could have been a lot worse. Right. Like, at least it was somewhere going into the neighborhood of being,
that
like,
tune.
For lack of a better term, cool. You know what I mean? Like, modern-ish. Like, it could have been a whole lot worse, only to find out a game later, nope, we can't even do that. It's like, what are we doing here, right? Like, these things are not that complicated, and I just hate the BS of when things get called out that you would never do on the other side. Nobody's doing deep dives into any of these rock songs that are used each and every single week to open up a hockey game. Ain't nobody doing those deep dives. And I'm not even saying that you should, but when you do it on the other side, that's when I'm going to call out the bullshit.
Yeah. I'll take it even a step further. Who is giving a shit that it, like, is there discourse like this with the Buffalo Sabres goal song? Like, no, it's just another classic Toronto media, which is a predominantly, like, we know what this fan base is. And it's like, if any team should be able to make, or at least like in their minds, take a risk and go hip hop, God forbid, it should be the Leafs, because it's not going to affect their bottom line in any way, shape, or form. But it just takes a couple powerful people that are just like, hey, I don't like this.
Okay, I really want to know who the person was that Googled the lyrics and then, like, narked, right? Who played the role of the feds, Googled the lyrics of this song. It was like, you know what? There's some inappropriate lyrics in this song. I don't think we can use this as a goal song. I want to meet that person and be like, bro, what's really going on in your life? Like, isn't there way more important things that you should be complaining about other than the whole crowd singing, I'm in a pursuit of happiness, when, like, that basically sums up the whole history of the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. Like, I don't know if there's a song that sums it up perfectly.
Guys, it was for the best. It was for the best. That song was trash. It was awful.
Like it? What?
Wow.
That remix, that is awful.
Hey,
I hate the remix. No, I'm with you, Timmy. I hate the remix because the original's so great, but you can't play the original as a goal song.
The remix is killer, man.
All I was saying, Hags, though, was it could have been way worse. And look at what they did instead.
Now it is
Hall
way
and
better.
Oates.
Could've been the
Webby was right.
Arkells.
Webby was right the entire time. Should have just kept Hall and Oates. Like,
No.
Yo, John Oates is, I don't know if he's African American, but you know, he's not he doesn't look like the whitest guy.
Have you seen Hall? Hold on.
Now, Daryl Oates is white. Daryl Oates is white as they get.
Yo.
Or Daryl Hall is white as they get. John Oates is a Philly guy. I'm not sure what his background is. But you're right. They should have kept it. It was awesome. It was different. It was cool. It was a throwback. It really kind of, I don't know, like was for this market kind of the perfect thing with what they want to do. And you know what happened? They got a bunch of suits in a boardroom to sit down and figure out what's going to be the optimal song that will get the demographic that we want. And you know what? And then they ended up, somebody narked, and now we're going back to Q107's Drive Time of 5 and classic rock, you know, like Panama's, I mean, Van Halen's all right. Like Panama's not my favorite tune, but it's just a boring hockey dad song. It's brutal.
Tones, what's the Sens goal song? Do they have
I-
one?
I don't hear it a
and I
lot.
straight up could not care less. Who the fuck cares? You know what I care about? Pucks going in the net. That's it. What happens after? I don't give a fuck, guys. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And here's the best part. Nobody can afford Leafs tickets, so you're not even going to enjoy it. Like, it's just the same.
You're going to hear it on the TV.
Yeah, like barely, right? Because you get the color guy coming in saying his fucking nonsense, and it's like, yeah, okay, great. Like, who cares?
You know what is?
guys?
You know what is
It
funny
doesn't
as you
matter.
said that.
Like,
It no matter what.
I have muted Leafs goal song on Twitter, and my life is just
It's better
so much
for
better.
it.
Like every third tweet was about the fucking Leafs goal song, and I'm like, Auston Matthews is scoring a fucking literal hat trick, and all I hear about it is a goal song. Like, what are we doing? Stop! It doesn't matter. We just spent 13 minutes on this. Like,
Did you
Well, also-
mute Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith too?
oh,
or-
that's next. Holy
Oh
fuck.
my God.
Yeah, I tuned that out. I
God.
stopped with that. Although I will say I'm enjoying the Jada jokes, the memes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The memes are incredible. But
Did
like,
you make me
Did
happy
you
that
see the
like,
one where someone
my wife doesn't
photoshopped-
hate me? My wife doesn't hate me as much as Jada Pinkett
Oh.
Smith hates Will Smith. So I'm in the positive. I'm in the net positive right now in my life.
Did you guys see the meme of like, you know, the Tupac picture of
Yes.
him in the car? Did you guys see the one of Jada?
I didn't see that. Yo.
I was like, this is great.
Tupac getting dragged into this whole like red table shit. It's crazy.
Well,
it's
she did
brutal.
it. She's dragged.
No,
him
I know,
into
but
it.
like posthumously, like the guy's dead. He can't even come out and say one way or another.
he can't defend.
Oh,
himself.
you
Yeah,
and
like how
Tupac
funny
were
would
in
it be if
love?
he was like, actually, I wasn't that into Jada at all. Like,
Right?
It's just like,
He was
oh,
a 5
shit.
piece ass. That was nothing more, you know?
So hold on, sticking with the Leafs here for a while, and I want to get the perspective here of Tones, obviously, who's the outsider of Leafs
God.
Nation here. We'll
He's
say
not riding the
No,
crest
no.
of the wave.
I was gonna say though, like the whole Ryan Reeves thing. The other funny part about the Leafs first few games, it's like Auston Matthews is scoring, has like 6 goals. Willie is like flying. And most of the talk is about the goal song and should Ryan Reeves be actually playing, or does he actually do anything for the Leafs? And for me,
Took
my
3
angle
games,
on
guys.
this,
Took 3 games.
I know,
Okay,
Love
we have
it. I love it.
79 more to go.
I love it. There's
And
already
Auston Matthews
shit talking
already
Tyler
pissed at-
Bertuzzi. There's already, Max Domi is actually not good. Shocker, guys. He's on his 8th team in his 8th year. Like, holy shit. Wish a podcast out there could have told you this. Ding ding. Yeah. You got Corey Perry like pointing at the fans in the stands. Like, sorry, isn't that what Ryan Reeves was like? You shouldn't be allowed to do that if Ryan Reeves is there. And the worst he does is say, you haven't done shit, even though Corey Perry has like 3 Stanley Cups to his name. Like, come on. Give me a break.
My whole thing though with the Ryan Reeves like slander, it's like you have the math nerds that are like, look at this statistic that shows he's outshot every time and it's like, can't we just like fun things?
Yeah.
Like what's so
Like,
hard
that's
about
not-
that? This
that's
is an
just not the
entertainment
role.
business, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's an entertainment business. My guy's gonna come on the ice, he's gonna
Fist
hit
go
someone
boom.
and then fight someone and then go to the bench. And that's it. I don't need the stat nerds to tell me that like he doesn't get shots on goal. Do you know why? Because I'm not expecting him to get shots on goal. I'm expecting him to fuck people up. And the other part of this is when, I don't know if you saw the clip after, I guess it was the Leafs' second game, and their thing this year is they hand out the belt, right? Like whoever the player of the game is gets the belt. So Auston, after his second hat trick, you get to decide who gets the belt after the second game. And everyone in the rooms, they're like, oh, keep it. You hear a couple voices yell, keep it. And he's like, nah, Revo, you got us lit up earlier today again, blah, 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 blah. And he's passing it to Ryan Reeves. So my question is, how is a stat nerd on his computer telling us that it has no effect in the locker room at all? Meanwhile, when you show me the locker room, here's Auston Matthews saying, Revo, you got us going again today. Yeah. I don't understand why everything has to be an argument. Why can't we just listen to the players?
I couldn't agree more. And like so many players, like even on like Mark Mathot's tweet about this shit, like you send old Sens guys, like this shit matters. And it actually does. The difference to me is like, why are you not beating the fucking hell out of Corey Perry after that?
Yeah.
Like
because
that's what you're there for.
Fight.
You're there to go up against the Corey Perrys of the world.
Is you know Corey Perry?
I don't think Corey Perry's answering that bell against Ryan Reeves.
He's not, and nobody should, because Ryan Reeves is a fucking badass. But like, no, like that's the point. Is he shouldn't be pointing to the third row.
No.
Taunting Leafs fans if the presence is there, right?
Who's two hockey players and now have a podcast, and I'm failing to remember their names, but he's pointing at them in the crowd. Fuck, I got.
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Was it Biz?
No, it wasn't Biz. It wasn't Biz. I'm gonna look it up.
There's so many. That's the other crazy thing. It's that like I was going over like NFL stories this past week, and it was like, oh, DK Metcalf said this on his podcast, and then this guy said this. We got no shot, guys. If DK Metcalf has a fucking podcast, guess who ain't listening to us?
Does DK Metcalf actually have a podcast or no?
I don't know.
Cooper Kupp and Stafford are starting one. Like every athlete. Like Club, that's like the joke now. It's like Odell Beckham's hurt again. It's like, buddy, go start that pod. Go buy that mic. Get that shit going because you're next.
Why doesn't Stafford just go on his wife's pod?
The wives have a fucking pod.
Really? Does Stafford's wife have a podcast?
Why? Oh yeah. Don't you remember she got in trouble earlier on in the season because in the preseason on her podcast, she was talking about how much trouble he was having connecting to the younger players on the team because of generation gap of them being on their phones and all that shit. Yeah, you heard that story, right?
Yeah, no, I did. I just didn't know. I didn't know that's where it came from.
It comes from podcast.
Like, who the fuck wants to listen to what Matthew Stafford's wife has to say?
Corey Perry was pointing at Shane O'Brien and Scotty Upshaw after his goal. They were in the crowd and he pointed at them. Don't know why.
Really great.
Revo knows because he's a big podcast guy.
I just love.
We got to get him on the show. Can we get him on the show?
Well, sure. Why not? Let's try and figure that out. I was gonna say though, Auston already mad at Steve Simmons, which I saw that. I do like the trend.
One game? Did that take one game?
One game. I think it was the first game.
First game. Yeah, I saw that.
It was like the dumbest. It wasn't even a question. It was just like the dumbest statement. Like. Man, who
was better, Castellanos or Matthews? Did you see Castellanos after the Phils beat the Braves? The guy was like, he was just like, Nick, you became the first player to hit a home run in 3 straight division games. And Castellanos looks at him and he goes, that wasn't a question.
Good answer. Ask a question, Mr. Reporter.
So good.
Oh, well, I'm here for Auston going back at the media demanding that they ask better questions. Yeah. But like Steve Simmons basically insinuated, he wrote a whole article about how the Auston didn't play his best game but got a hat trick. And it's just like, what are we doing here?
like only in Toronto. Only in Toronto.
Steve Simmons is playing
look
his
up
role.
The headline and look for the clip of Steve Simmons asking Auston the question. And my favorite part is whenever an athlete, like this was an old school thing, right? Like when you cover sports and when you know the athlete well enough and they name check you, right? That's like a cosign. Like
I guess that's what I'm saying, Brooksy.
Well, this is where I was going with this. When as much as the respect factor for the name check, but then there's also the disrespect where it's, you know what I'm saying, Brooksy? And when Auston gave I don't really know, Steve. That's my favorite. Where it's just like, you see him look over and he's like, yeah, I don't really know, Steve.
we talk about Steve Simmons all the time, but you know what? It does take a certain kind of person to wake up every day and be like, I'm going to be the dumbest motherfucker out here.
I'm choosing
and I'm going to play into it. I'm going to play into it.
It's so good, though. It's so good. And then
ridiculous.
someone else, like, I guess after the second game, it was Auston scored on the wraparound. And I don't know who this person was, but they were like, so at what point when you had the puck behind the net, did you think, oh, I think I might be able to score here? And Austin's like, I don't know. It was just a hockey play. Like, I don't know. It's just like, what do we do? Like, this is not that complicated, right? Like, we wonder why these guys are so boring and salty. And it's like, part of it is on the media for asking dumbass questions all the time.
Questions that are terrible. There are a million questions that you should be asking Auston Matthews after his second hat trick. One of them isn't, what were you thinking behind the net? Like, I mean, this is like talking inside baseball here, but we all know the worst question that these guys get asked is, can you talk about blank?
Yeah.
It's the fucking worst. Who, what, where, why, when. Take one of those words and make a question about it. It will be 100 times better than what you think. Or when did you think that you would score your second hat trick of the year?
But also, my guy sniped a hat trick, and you're writing an article about how he didn't play his best game, but scored a hat trick.
It's crazy.
It's just
it's like legitimately insane. Like, if you're a player, like, and like the NHL's got a Canada problem, right? Players don't want to come play here. No kidding. Like, holy shit, man.
Wait, I wonder why.
What's the guy got to do? Score fucking 6 goals every night? Like, in order to, like, it's just crazy. Like,
I know we're on the puck talk early, but what you just said leads me towards the Connor Bedard stuff. Obviously, the NHL, massive marketing play here. And I'm going to give credit to ESPN just because I feel like the NHL is normally not this good at this stuff. But they had Bedard start off against Crosby on opening night, then played Boston, then played in Montreal, then played in Toronto. And by the Monday, people are complaining about how much media he has to do so early. Taylor Hall is trying to be like, well, he's doing too much media and we're complaining about this already. And I'm just like, NHL, can you guys realize for a split second that there are mans like Chris Boucher that almost make the same amount as Connor McDavid? You should look at that as a problem. And that's no shade at Chris Boucher. I'm just stating that one person is Connor McDavid, the other person is Chris Boucher, and they live in the same tax bracket. That should be a problem for your league. There's a reason why they're asking Bedard all these questions every day, because he's playing in a major American market, and you need to sell your game. Rant over. Sorry.
No, you're bang on. Like, you're the first overall pick. You're the future of the league. Yeah, people are going to want to talk to you. And if you don't want that, like, you're playing, like, don't play professional sports. I don't know, like, the first overall pick in every other league gets fucked. Like, you're having microphones in front of you regardless. You're going to deal with scrutiny regardless. Look at Bryce Young, man. That guy had a pretty solid college career, and that guy's like taking it like every single day on social media. Like, that's part of the gig. Like, that's just how it has to work. If you don't like it, go play fucking lacrosse with like 5,000 people in the stands. Like, it's just not, it's like, I'm not breaking out the violins for Connor Bedard. Like, Taylor Hall's out there like, oh man, it's just too much. Like, trying to, like, come on, man. Like, it's so silly.
Tones, I got to ask you, what's going on with the Sens so far, man?
Sens looking good, man. Sens are looking good. And they don't even have their boys there.
I saw Jake Sanderson scored.
Stud. Oh, he's so good.
Yo,
oh my
God. I have Timmy
Stützle
on my hockey fantasy team, by the way.
Yeah. Now you'll know. Now you'll know. No, he's really, no, they're really good. I got to rant. Like, Pierre Dorian is the biggest idiot. Like, tell me if you think this is like just fireable shit. Shane Pinto is not on the team right now.
Okay.
What team are we talking about?
Restricted free agent. He's 22 years old, coming off a 20-goal rookie season, and they just ran out of cap room 2 months ago, and he never solved the problem. Like the homework assignment was due. Your due date is there. It's October, whatever the fuck the first day of the NHL season is. It's like, nah, I'll put it on. I'll start the project later. And here we are, overdue. And now he's like scrambling to sort it out, and he's got to like give up a good, like, a depth player, and clear money like half the league is.
Yeah,
like,
I was going to
say, one of your core pieces is not there. Like,
isn't this a league-wide NHL problem? Because like the cap is so stupid that everyone's struggling to put enough players, not even on the ice, but dress enough players night in, night out because of the cap.
It is, but they're dressing that. We're talking like The
a
Ryan
main
Reeves
person.
now don't play. That's fine. That's not that's not gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
This is a 20 goal guy that should be centering your like one of your key centermen.
Mhm.
That's just not on the team, and it's not even a money thing. He's never asked for a trade. He's not asking for a lot. It's like 2.1 million for 2 years, and they don't have the money. Like they don't have the space. I'm like, what is going on? If I could go on Cap Friendly and sort it out myself, you can do that too, Mr. General Manager, making millions of dollars. Insane. I'm mad. But anyway, looking good. We're gonna be fine. We're winning the cup. It's gonna be great.
Well, while
Other
we're
than
here
that, we're doing great.
while we're here talking about bad management, I feel like we should switch gears and bring it back to Toronto for a sec, because we haven't spoken since the last time we talked. We were discussing the fact that by the time the people hear the pod we were recording, the Jays might not be in the playoffs anymore.
Didn't
And
take long.
What? Guess what?
Didn't take long.
Yo.
Who are we talking about?
I mean,
Lots have happened since the game, obviously, and I'll start here. Should everyone still be employed?
No.
no.
Nope.
It was a good move. I agree with the move still.
You're such
You
a zagger.
you gotta
Tim.
take out the left-handed bats. You gotta take them out of the lineup. It worked out. It was the offense. It's the offense fault.
It was the
Did
offense.
it work out if you
Every
lost?
move was right. The offense just didn't do anything.
Kikuchi coming in and giving 2 right away.
Nah.
That was a tough scene when
They held them to,
everybody
like,
on their
2
couch
runs.
was going, I know what's going to happen here. Nobody was. You were the only person on your couch, Timmy, going, you know what? This is going to work out.
Great
for the Blue
move.
Jays.
Do you know what it is? It's exactly like we were talking about Ryan Reeves earlier, and how there's an element to sports that we keep forgetting in our over analyzing and using too much numbers. Like, we're dealing with human beings. So there's a human element to you playing and watching your pitcher dealing, right?
Yeah.
And then having the coach be like, you know what? I know you're dealing right now, but I don't really have faith in you to like keep going. And I don't really have faith in our offense either to score a lot of runs. So we got to make sure that they don't score a lot. So we're going to overanalyze this and now take out our pitcher that's dealing and bring in this other guy out of the pen, because I don't really trust our offense and I don't really trust our starting pitcher, who was pitching the best game that he's pitched this season.
I got a question. Okay. Between Shapiro, Atkins, and Schneider, do you think all 3 were complicit in this decision, or do you think that there was any pushback from any of those 3 on this decision? Were they all in lockstep that this was going to happen?
I think it's I kind of believe Shapiro when he's like, no, I wasn't part of the meeting, like physically in there. But the way I think they structured the organization culturally is like, hey, the analytics are going to drive this stuff. So yeah, it's not him saying it, but it's, his like 4 proxies that are in the meetings going like, no, here's what we're going to do.
On his mandate.
And that includes Schneider, right? Like this is his first managerial like job ever. He's probably, yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have the cachet to do that kind of stuff, right? And like push back against the top dogs.
Yeah, every single major league team now, or if not every team, 90% of major league teams are driven by analytics now, right? And so you have the analytics department that is represented in the meetings, the manager meetings that they have every day. So Shapiro's too big time. Shapiro's dealing with like the stadium renos and all these other things that are going on from like an overall business standpoint. Ross Atkins is at the top, but you're not really going to have him in those meetings. But obviously, he's got one of his henchmen that are in the manager meetings on a daily basis. And there you have the discussion of what you think the game plan should be. And that's what they've done for the whole season. They've done that year or game in, game out. The difference is you have certain managers, and off the top of my head, I could think of like Dusty Baker, maybe like Bochy, like dudes who have like pedigree that can like push back. Like if Dusty Baker says, I get what the numbers are, but I'm not doing that. Ain't nobody telling Dusty Baker anything, right? Like he can push back. John Schneider can't really push back. And I know that in the moment, everyone thinks that, it's easy for him to be like, you know what? I'm going to trust my gut. I'm going to trust my feel. That's not really the way that business works. And like everyone's acting all tough until you ask them what their relationship is with their boss in real life, right? And how quickly things are insinuated by your boss and you just follow through on it. I honestly think, though, that it is a bigger overall problem. Again, we keep talking about it. The stat nerds running everything. and losing the point that you're dealing with human beings.
I'll say this though, like I think there's not enough blame being put on the players here. They had one extra base hit in 2 games. They couldn't hit all year. Like Vladdy having the season he had really like wasn't good. You know what I mean? Like for his standards and the level that we put him at, I'd say Bo was kind of the only one that really met expectations. And like we can talk shit about the front office, the managerial shit and all that stuff. Like you got to hit, like you got to deliver. And like I do think that there was some sort of mental, like I'm sure you grip the bat a little tighter when the manager pulls Barrios and you're going, oh my God, not only do I disagree with this decision, but now it's like, okay, we got to like, I got to go up there and make something happen. And you maybe, you know, lose your plan a little bit. But like, I just think like the players are just getting off scot-free here. Like the Springers, the key guys that just couldn't come through when it mattered most. And like Springer especially, it's like this guy is built for the play. This is the playoff guy. Like this is the one that should be, you know, starting shit and making things happen. And it just didn't happen. And I think there does need to be some onus on those guys and not just exclusive blame. It's easy to fire a coach. It's easy to fire a GM and for us to want that and people to want that. But the players got to deliver at the end of the day.
So do you think that this core is back? I mean, obviously Springer is back and they have a couple more years of control under Vlad. And did Bo get the money in the offseason or is he
got some money. He's locked up. Yeah. It's not like the big payday, but
like he's
locked up. I think he's locked up for like 3 or 4 years, right?
He got like 2 more years of this core. But further to your point, Tones, I think the Stars have to play better for sure. Like Bo, Vlad, Springer, they did not deliver in the playoffs or even, you know, Bo had a pretty good regular season, but Vlad and Springer underachieve for what you expect from those guys being the faces of your franchise. But also Ross Atkins also failed this team to begin with anyways. Like where were the middle of your lineup guys? Like Brandon Belt was hitting in the middle of your lineup the whole season.
Dalton Varsho couldn't even stick in the middle of the lineup.
Yeah.
They had to move him all the way down.
I think they had hope. I think they had hope for him and Chapman to like maybe be one of those guys takes over that 4-5 hole, but it just never worked out. Like that was my biggest fear. And I was sitting there going like, okay, I get what they're trying to do. It's just trading power for defense, which is fine. And like in theory should allow you to be successful in the postseason. But I think a key cog in that is they're expecting Vladdy to be Vladdy.
But does Vladdy,
you know what I mean?
Vladdy
like,
needs someone hitting behind him to be Vladdy. Does Vladdy need someone
like that? It wasn't that they were pitching around him. It wasn't that they were giving him, you know, not giving him things to hit. He just sucked this year. Like, and you look at his end of season stats, you're going, wow, this actually wasn't bad. He had like, you know, what do you have? 25 plus home runs, 90 plus ribbies, like all that shit. But like, man, when you just watch the at-bats, it's just like this guy looks totally lost half the time. Yeah. And it's just like, you see it that first at-bat, he chases like 2 pitches way out of the zone. You're like, oh, okay. He's going 0 for 4 today. Cool.
So let me ask you this.
And it's like, that's shitty. Like you can't win.
Does it get better from here or worse from here for this core?
If Vladdy, we're going to have some uncomfortable conversations if the next year Vladdy doesn't hit the ground running a little bit. And like people were excited that he's going to Florida and he's working out in Florida this summer or this winter. Like miss me with that. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care. Like he's done. We've heard him train in Florida. We've heard him go back home. And every single time the reporters and everybody, oh, this is good. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. Oh, he's playing winter ball, you know, down in Cuba or Dominican or wherever he's going. Like, great. This is awesome. I don't care. What he's doing isn't working. Change it. He's had 1 elite year out of like 4 now. We're talking about a significant sample size. He's got to be better.
It's funny. The results last year and the results this year for the Jays equal, right? Out in 2 in a wild card. But it seemed like after last year, there was way more positive feelings about the whole organization than there are this year after basically doing the exact same thing.
Well, I think last year there was more, you're still living off happy to be here vibes, right? Of like, hey, we made the playoffs. Cool. We're happy that we're here. And then this year you do it again. And the way that things played out in terms of, oh, well, you want to play the Twins. That worked out perfectly. And then didn't, right?
Yeah.
And so just the way that things worked out and the epic failure that it was in terms of not getting any hits is just terrible, right? And I think like that plays a role into it as well. Whereas if you flip-flopped the playoffs, right? Like whatever happened in this playoffs made that last year to this year. I feel like the moods are the same, right? Because you'd be coming off a crushing loss again, where you're questioning pitching decisions that were made. And I mean, last year's loss in the playoffs was a way more epic fail, blowing the, what was it? 8-run lead, 9-run lead, whatever. 8-1. Yeah. Right. So like, I don't know, at a certain point, Tones is right. You just got to put up. You just got to do it, right? And they got to bring in better pieces around the guys. You got to have your guys step up, and you're wasting years of your pitching staff.
Bingo.
Right? Like you got a really lucky, don't want to say lucky because that's not it, but I guess lucky in the sense that Manoah goes down, who's supposed to be your ace, and yet your pitching staff still thrives. That's incredible. Are you going to be that lucky going forward? I don't know. Speaking of, I don't know, I'm going to finish off this Toronto segment. I know we spent a lot of time talking Toronto here, but we're kind of getting caught up. Raptor season is about to start.
Get this team out of here. This team fucking sucks. It hasn't even started yet. I can't watch this team. I can't watch it. There's no one to watch.
So let me put it to you like this. I'm pretty sure the win total is still 36.5. You're
hammering the under on that?
That seems kind of low, though.
That does seem low.
That's really low.
Well, I mean, yeah. So are we going?
I mean, yeah, I do get it. That's like, yeah.
Don't let the promos take you one way or another on the win total.
Listen, man.
Dude, I watched 2 minutes of preseason, and I saw Siakam with the ball. I saw OG with the ball. These are the exact same guys. Exact same guys.
Scotty, too. Throw Scotty.
Scotty.
In there too.
Bro, I can't do it, man. I'm just going to be watching Leafs all season. The Raps, I don't know, man.
Check the box score.
It's a tough watch.
I'll say this, 36.5, take the over. Take the over on the win
really
total. Sure.
Why?
Why?
Because like, is 38 wins, does that make it a great season? No. But like, I feel like you can get to 30. You can get to 37 wins in the East. The East isn't that good. I'm not saying the Raptors are that good, but I'm just saying take the over. It doesn't mean that you beat like last year. They were what, 41? They were 500 last year, right? 41 and 41. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Like,
well, dock a couple wins for the new coach factor, right?
Darko.
Sure.
I mean, new offense, man. 0.5 offense, man. It's about ball movement, quick decision making, right? That won't lead to too many turnovers.
You say that you're off Raps and on Leafs, but the beauty of the NBA, I love it. The beauty of the NBA though is that you can like there's always something going on, and like the NFL is like this too. But the NFL is one day. But like you get a good Tuesday or Thursday, you can bounce around.
Yeah,
you know, and you don't even need to watch Raptor game. You can
Our
watch.
Only hope is Grady, man. Grady.
Grady.
You're trolling me right now. No, you guys are trolling me right now, and I'm not doing that. Man. Listen, man. All I'm gonna say is watching Cam Whitmore.
Yeah. But
I thought of you when I saw that.
Like, yes.
Keontae George.
The injury concerns were real.
Cool, but okay. I'll just say this to you. The Raptors have played 2 preseason games. They're talking about going 10 deep, and Grady Dick is like barely in your 10-man rotation. That's a lottery pick. Come on, man.
Is Cam Whitmore in a music video?
A 36-win team, okay?
For a child's music video? He was a child's music video.
I have a serious question about this.
I haven't watched it.
And by serious, I hold on. I can't actually have a serious question about Adonis's video.
No,
like, that's not a real thing. That sentence coming out of my mouth made no sense. But the point I'm trying to make here is, if you're Grady, do you have to say yes to that despite knowing that they're making a joke of you? They're making a mockery of you.
No.
Do you have to say yes to that?
He likes to be in on the joke. Like, he likes to be clowned. You can tell.
So you have to say yes to being in Drake's Kids video.
I'm sure
not
he was
Drake's
pumped.
video,
I'm sure
but Drake's Kids video.
I'm sure he was pumped.
This is my beef. Like, you guys realize this is my beef with the whole thing, right? They drafted him to be a joke, and he's just being a joke, and that's all that's happening. And your team still isn't that good.
What like he drafted him as a joke? It wasn't a joke.
Yeah, like what does that mean?
He's the best shooter in the draft.
He's a shooter.
Best shooter in the draft.
Drafting
I
for
hope
need.
So much for the sake of this podcast that Grady Dick is just a rock star.
Listen,
I just
want him to
so
be
bad.
Mayor
We will
Toronto,
never
Grady
let you
Dick.
live there.
Listen, I want him to be good too. I want the Raptors to be good. They consume a lot of my time that's awake. They can like a lot of my time is spent on the Toronto Raptors.
You and Grady Dick are going to have a very close relationship. He is going to be in your life.
We should get Grady on the pod. All I'm saying
probably be easier than Revo.
We should get Revo and Grady on the pod.
Let's have a round table.
All I'm saying is that you needed more upside than drafting for need. A 36-win team does not have a need that we need more shooting, so we're going to draft the best shooter. You need to draft the best player or take a swing on take your chance on Cam and say, hey, if he got hurt, okay, cool, but we understand he's falling, but let's take a chance on some upside. Keontae George, I've already talked about that, and everyone thinks I'm just saying that because I watched him in Global Jam, and that's not it. I also watched a bit of college ball.
No love for Hawkes? Wasn't Hawkes around there?
Sure, Hawkes, Kobe Buffkin. Nice. I would have been good with a lot of different. Listen,
basically everyone except Grady.
Yo, the tweet will be there for me to be trolled forever and ever. Nice. Before the pick happened, the tweet said, please, anybody but Grady Dick. I think that's what it was. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing my own tweet, but it was something to that effect. So this will not be hindsight when he's not in the rotation.
I'm getting out
the only guy that like could get me to watch the team this season.
Yo, the other thing that's funny about the Raps. So Grady Dick not being in the rotation because he's not playing over OG or Scotty or Pascal or Gary Trent Jr. or Schroeder or any of their other guards or small forwards. But the other thing, in terms of fumbling bags here, Gary Trent Jr. opted into his contract the last year of his deal, right? And he did so with the thought that, hey, come back for one more year. Fred's gone. Maybe someone else will be gone and you'll be able to start and get busy and boost up your stock heading into next season. Gary Trent Jr. is still coming off the bench for this team. That is a massive bag fumble by Rich Paul and Gary Trent Jr. that you're still coming off the bench for this, again, 36-win Raptors team. That can't be a good sign if you're Gary Trent.
No.
Gary Trent Jr. is not that good.
Listen,
that's my hot take.
All I'll say is James Harden still on your squad?
Yeah, I guess so. I saw another tweet about a possible Clippers thing. I don't even care at this point. They'll be in the playoffs at like probably maybe a play-in. I'm just excited to watch Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is hitting all the right buttons.
Don't you guys have the defending MVP on your team?
And future New York Knick, Joel Embiid? Sure. I'm sure.
Future Team USA gold
Team
medalist.
USA center, Joel Embiid? Yes. American hero, Joel Embiid.
Give me the game number and who chirps who first publicly, Nick Nurse or Joel Embiid.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go probably pretty early before Christmas. There'll be things in the press, but the nice thing that those two have is Harden. Is that like that's a big?
They can blame him.
Big gravitational pull media wise over here. Anything that Nick and Joel can do is like manna from heaven, you know. And I don't think there'll be much sniping because I don't think that the expectations are there like the way that they had been the last 4 or 5 years in Philadelphia, you know. That's crazy. I think that it's pretty evident. You look at the team and what they did in the offseason that I don't think championship aspirations are in the Sixers vernacular right now.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Well,
I'll give you you want a prediction?
Sure.
You want a prediction?
Yeah.
The Orlando Magic are going to be a top 5 seed in the East this year. The Orlando Magic will have a better playoff position. I don't know about record because of the divisions. The Orlando Magic will have a better playoff position than the Sixers.
Didn't you also predict that the Giants were going to like win the division or something?
I did predict the Giants would win the division. I did. So take that. However, I also, what was the one that I did? I don't know if it was last year or the year before. No, it was last year. I had the Cavs hosting a playoff series. Okay. And they did.
Okay.
They got whooped by the Knicks, but they had the first 2 games in Cleveland.
Okay.
Happy to be there.
So Magic, top 5 seed. Magic are nice.
So we'll go from a couple hopeful NBA playoff teams to hopeful NFL playoff teams that were 500. Or sorry, that were undefeated. When am I talking about 500? That were undefeated. And they both lose on the same day. And I know there are people trying to be like, I'm a Niners fan and Niners lost first. And then watching the Eagles game, there are people like, oh, now don't feel as bad. Like that makes zero sense. I was still pissed after that Niners game because your damn rookie kicker can't hit a 30+ yard field goal to win. Brock Purdy's getting crushed the whole day. Debo goes down. McCaffrey goes down. Injuries left and right on offense. Brock Purdy doesn't look good, but still does what you want good quarterbacks to do. He gets the game-winning drive, sets you up, puts you in position to win the game, and the rookie kicker can't hit a kick, despite the fact that his whole entire family and friends flew to Cleveland and were there for the game. I'm like, you loser. Loser kickers.
Is that better or worse than your franchise quarterback who you paid all this money to in the offseason after an amazing run to the Super Bowl? Say what you will, but Jalen was unbelievable last year. To see your quarterback, when the game is on the line, throw the worst pass of the entire season by any quarterback. Off his back foot, staring at his receiver, and throwing a duck into double coverage. So that was fucking brutal.
I want to ask Tones this first as the unbiased person to answer this. But how much do you think losing your offensive coordinator has affected the Eagles this year? Just because I feel like, why is Jalen Hurts throwing the ball that many times, period, to begin with? Right? Like, I feel like that's a ball control offense. That's a run the ball offense. And he's throwing, hopefully, to like open one-on-one situations with AJ Brown and Devontae, right? But like, I don't understand just why you would have, and they needed to kill the clock too. They were winning.
They needed to run the ball.
So like, why
run the ball? Let Zach Wilson beat you from fucking 75 yards rather than
make him drive. Yeah. It's like it continues to be the most overlooked and under talked about offseason storyline is Shane Steichen leaving the Eagles. I consume a ton of NFL stuff all throughout the summer, and it felt like anytime there was an Eagles preview, nobody mentioned it. Like nobody. Everyone was like, oh, Hurts MVP. Here's his odds. Pretty good. His offensive line's great. Oh, the fucking Georgia D-line and all that shit. And I'm like, we're not going to talk about these old corners. We're not going to talk about Shane Steichen like leaving. I think the Eagles will be fine. But Hurts I think he's reminding us that he's not that upper tier. He's not in the Burrow. He's not in the Mahomes.
Herbert or Jalen.
We thought
Herbert or Jalen.
Oh man, that's tough. I'm such a Herbert guy,
especially after
Herbert was good.
He was terrible. I need to see Herbert with a proper fucking coach. And like Kellen Moore is cool, but like I think he's incredibly overrated. Yeah. Like I just want to see him with like, man, and I know Finns fans are going to lose their minds with me saying this, but if you swap Tua and Herbert, I mean, Herbert would be lighting shit up. It'd be like unbelievable. So I'm going to lean Herbert there. I'm going to lean Herbert.
Do you know what it is?
I take Jalen. I've seen Jalen win big games. I've seen Jalen win big games. I've never seen Herbert win a big game in his career.
Correct. No, totally agree. That's why it's like, it's like splitting hairs, but I need to see like Herbert could, like, we saw this with Matt Ryan, man. Like, coaching fucking matters, and your offensive scheme matters. Like, Matt Ryan is an MVP season. The rest of his career is good. It's just not great.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Herbert, that could have been his season. For Hurts, that could have been his season, right? Like, last year could have been that MVP caliber year where we saw him in the big game and he delivered. And now, and we're going to see it in the playoffs because this is a Super Bowl caliber roster still.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they're kind of that team that I'm kind of looking at, like, they're going to be like 5.5-point favorites in Wild Card Weekend, and I'm kind of penciling the circle around them.
That's why,
like, let's take the points there, because I can see them losing that.
That's why we need the bye. And I don't know about Shelley, but even after a bad loss to a bad team, like the difference between, I mean, they both have really good defenses, but even after that game, I'm still pretty confident. I would say my confidence level out of 5 would be at a 4, even with that loss, because the injury to Lane Johnson doesn't seem like it's that serious. We still have the deepest offensive line in the league. We had Slay and Jalen Carter out against the Jets, not to make injury excuses, but
Slay's kind of washed. Like, he's not that good.
He's there.
He's fine, I guess.
I'd rather him be on the field than be on the sideline. I'm not calling him Sauce Gardner or one of these guys who is an absolute game changer, but he's there. He's serviceable. Get him on the field. Jalen Carter is a superstar, so we need him healthy. I'm still confident. I don't know if we're going to get past San Francisco in terms of the best record in the NFC. I hope we do. But I'd still put us easily second best team in the NFC.
And you should be. And I get that. And there's look, it's still week 6? Things can sort themselves out over the next couple months here, and they could peak at the right time. And, I look like a goofball, but I don't know, man. Even the good games when Philly is winning games, I'm like, man, they caught that lucky break. That fumble bounced their way. This call went their way. It's just seems like
it's what you need.
No, of course. There's no team that's ends up being the 1 seed without that shit. But I don't know. Eventually I'm a believer that shit balances out. It just does. And
we're good. You're absolutely
maybe this
right.
is the balancing out a little bit. And look, both losses, everyone, I chuckle at this shit when we talk off season and people go through records and go through the schedule and try to plot it there's no way this team isn't 13-4. And it's okay, guys, but good teams are going to lose to bad teams, and bad teams are going to beat teams that they have no business beating. It's just happenstance of the schedule and how things work out. And, maybe one unit just balls out one night and it just changes everything. So everybody fucking make it relax. It's going to be fine. These two teams, I would love for an NFC championship game between the two. I would love it.
Christmas.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm not even sure the Eagles get past the Lions at this point. I'm not even kidding.
Lions are good. Well, I gotta go, but go Phils. Phils in 4, going to the World Series. Bryce Harper, I've always loved him.
Who?
Yeah, ain't nobody checking for baseball, man. No, Tones, you mentioned the Lions though. Are the Lions in that? Should we be taking the Lions seriously in the NFC?
Yes.
In that same tier as the Eagles and Niners?
I would say the Niners are a tier of their own, and then maybe the Eagles are tier 2 by themselves as well, and then tier 3 starts with the Lions, I think. Okay. But they're trending, man. I don't like Dan Campbell as a coach. Cool, he's got the clips. He's a fun guy. I get he's a great motivator and shit. I think he's one of those dudes that is being carried by very good coordinators on both sides, specifically Ben Johnson. And they almost lost that guy on offense. And holy shit, if they did. And when they do, we'll see. We'll see. How you're not getting Gibbs into favorable situations. And this isn't just from a fantasy perspective. It's bananas that you can't get this guy the ball. It's just it's inexcusable in my opinion.
It might happen now as Montgomery's hurt, so you have no choice.
It will not. Craig Reynolds will carry the ball 18 times on Sunday. I'm telling you now. It's insanity. It makes no fucking sense. It's so stupid.
Fired up fantasy Tones. I love it.
Oh, it's so dumb. No, it's not even the fantasy thing. It's just these coaches that are old school. No. We need the battering ram to come in and carry the ball 15 times right up the center's ass, and it's going to set the tone for our team. And I'm like, man, what? You think the Miami fucking Dolphins are doing that shit? How you can watch their games and then compare it to your team and man, just put the football in the end zone. Like, that's how you win.
Tones, as a football guy for sure on the pod, I've missed you the past few weeks because I haven't gotten your opinion on the biggest topic in the NFL so far, 6 weeks in.
Oh, no.
And that is Taylor Swift.
Oh, fuck.
I need to know just where you stand here, just with everything that's going on right now. Travis and Taylor and, date nights, and she's at all the games.
It's fine. I'm not a Taylor guy, but it's fine. It's cool. Yeah. Let it happen. They're great marketing people. Timmy said it best. It's just they're clout chasing. Good for them. Good for them.
What was the term from a couple weeks ago? It's a work.
It's a work.
Yes, it's a work. It's right. It's just like that. That's cool. Like, all right, go do it. What annoys me is the people that get annoyed that are like, oh man, like this is ruining my experience. Really, a cutaway after a touchdown is ruining your football experience? Like, fucking shut up. Get over yourself. Like honestly, like then don't watch the game. Like, just turn it off. Like, I don't know. The funniest part to me was like they walked in a couple weeks ago and it's her and it's Blake Lively. There's the headliner, by the way. And with like former Senators ownership hopeful Ryan Reynolds and Wolverines there. And I'm like, they only font Taylor Swift. And I'm like, yikes.
Straight
yikes.
Disrespect.
Those agents right on the horn with their publicists going, what the fuck is this?
She's just on a different tier, man.
I got to say, man,
I don't get it. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's like a cult. Like, I don't understand. It's like they're just obsessed with her.
You know what was crazy? You know what was really crazy, though? For the opening night of her film, her concert film, did you see who showed up to the red carpet to have pictures with her?
Beyonce.
Queen Bee. Beyonce. And I was like, whoa, okay. All right. Like, if Beyonce, that's a mega cosign, right? Like, Beyonce don't come outside her house unless it's like a big deal. Right? Like, it's not just any random event that's going to get her to leave her house.
I don't like that for Beyonce. I don't like that for her.
I was like, okay. Interesting.
You don't like it for Beyonce?
She didn't need to do that. I don't like that for her.
I don't think she needs to do that, but I will agree that it's a work. Right?
Yeah. But she
knows what she's doing, right? Like, that's a business decision right there.
Yeah.
That's a work.
Damn.
To show the cosign to my fellow songwriter, songstress that also writes her own music. And, I respect her as a performer, like all that stuff, I guess I should segue from that, talking performances. There is also an album that dropped, Hags. I see you repping for the OVO attire there. I wish Webby was still here, or maybe we should wait for Webby and discuss this next week. Fully.
He's probably the best guy to hear the other side of this.
I just want to tell a story because I went to the show. I went to the Drake concert. A last minute plug, I will say, came through in terms of hey, what are you doing right now? Can you be downtown in 20 minutes? I got a ticket for you. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. I will say it was a very interesting experience. And much like a rant I had earlier in this pod, I'm just frustrated right now with the state of takes, we'll say. Someone should be allowed to say that they do not like an album without being called a hater. It's fine for someone to just say, you know what, this isn't for me. And I understand that it isn't for me and it wasn't made for me. And I get that I'm not the target audience. And someone should be able to say that without being called a hater. And I feel like that does not exist in our current climate of takes on anything, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether whatever it is, right? And that Drake album, I know is not for me. And I went to the Drake show, and I've been to a lot of Drake shows. I used to like OVO Fest in the summer was something I would look forward to all the time. Such a great time. But that concert was not for me. And I'm okay with that. I understand that I am not the target demo. I am not the person that he's aiming for anymore. And I understand that, and I'm okay with that. But I will say that J. Cole track, J. Cole smoked him on his own track, on his own album. That is a fuego fire, like just so dope.
J. Cole's been killing it the last like year and a half. Like really good. Like I don't think he's put out a song that I haven't liked, or even like features that I haven't liked. Like he's been fucking great.
It's because he's the only one doing it kind of reminiscent of an era of hip hop that we grew up with.
Yeah.
True.
He's been in like he's been in a lane and it's kind of like not really veered off of it. So like his stuff still kind of resonates with guys like us who like that music back then.
Yes.
And Drake knew that he had to put it into the album for guys like us, and then the rest of the album is for like every pocket of every music genre ever. And it's just like
it's a work.
We're never gonna get. It's a work. Yeah,
no, it is like Drake. Here's the thing, right? Drake understands. You got to give Drake the greatest comparison people have ever made is Drake being the LeBron to Michael Jordan's Jay-Z, right? And that just means, first off, depending on which era you're from, that's who you're going to rep more than the other for the most part, right? For the most part. But also, the difference between what LeBron did compared to Mike and what Drake has done compared to Jay, it's like they've taken that marketing and understanding of what you can do with your brand and the business, and they've quadrupled that, right? And so Drake comes in, he makes hits, he understood, like Jay understood, hey, I jump on featuring tracks, that just adds to my catalog in between my albums. Drake has done that and multiplied that times 10, right? Times 20, and understood just jumping on different tracks, jumping on different waves. Oh, Afro beats is hot. I'm going to hop on that. Yeah. I'm going to hop on a Bad Bunny track and be rapping in Spanish, right? Like terrible. Whatever he's doing, like Vic, our boy Vic at work, was telling me that his son's into some rapper named Yeet. I've never heard who that person was in my life. And he's featuring on Drake. Do you know what I mean? Like Drake has figured out the way that he's going to hit all these different target demos, and it's a business, right? And it's the way that we consume music now. It is more like a playlist. So if he makes an album and one of his songs is going to hit every single, whether it's like, the daily playlist for hip hop, the daily playlist for Afro beats, the daily playlist for R&B, he's going to have a track for all of those things, and that's going to make him money. That's just what he does. Like, I understand the business aspect of that, but I also understand that most of that stuff's not for me. First person shooter, definitely for me.
Big time.
Definitely on repeat. And cool. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
I get the playlist stuff, and I don't agree with it. I think it's just not the way to make an album. Call me old school. And I think we are too old for this to hear the other side of this. Yeah. And like our boy Vic's son would be like a perfect guest on the pod to like, to do the other side. But I just like, at the end of the day, you can do the playlist thing, but the songs and the bars still have to make you feel something. And like, there are just so many lines where I like legit laughed. I'm like, this is bad. Like, that is not professional, like hip hop writing. You know what that is? That is not good. And like when like I kind of listened to it scattered a little bit because I'm like, it's a playlist album. I don't even need to listen to this in order. And the J. Cole song came on like halfway through, and I was like, like there's a breath of fresh air. I'm like, oh fuck that. Okay, that was a good one. Oh shit, that was a good one. When like some of this other shit is just not even good. So I'm like, do the younger generation even like this, right? Especially when you compare it to the other actually good Drake albums. Like that shit was playlisty and like, yeah, working with trends or whatever, but at least it was still good. And there were some memorable lines. Like, was there one good hook in this album? Like, I can't think of one memorable hook. And like, but I think did Joe Budden say this? Like he used to be the king of hooks or whatever. And I was like, like that's right, And I'm like, I couldn't think of one good one.
It's just what not good. Like on that Joe Budden review, you know what got me? They started talking about the timestamp songs, which was like, that's when Drake was coming with the shit. He calls up Boy Wonder, he blesses him with the beat, and that's when you're getting Drake that I love, that I want to hear. But they were debating like what was the best one, and then obviously they realized, 5 a.m. in Toronto. And I realized how unfair that is. That is one of my favorite Drake songs possible. And it's like, of course he's not going to do that all the time. You can't do that all the time. And also when you have like 25 features a year, some of those aren't going to be that good because you just came into the booth and you just tried to lay something down. And that's also a problem, right? You're trying to put out too much music.
Too much.
And so it's not going to be the same level. It's not possible to have it at the same level that you want it to be at, right? So
that's where I think the guys like Jay and like Like Kanye's done this to an extent where it's like, okay, like if I have 7 good songs, this album is seven songs deep. Like there's like the no
where I
skip,
think
like
where Drake now probably thinks like those 7 songs, he's gonna spread that out through 7 albums.
Bingo.
And then like keep filling like this. I think this generation just doesn't listen to any full albums anymore. So it's like it doesn't need to be cohesive. It doesn't need to have it doesn't need to flow. So
everybody listens. Yeah,
for music.
Everyone listens to what they listen to, and so he's gonna hit you with something for everyone, right? And like before, where you want to sit down, you open an album, you listen front to back. That just doesn't exist anymore, right?
And like
which is really
curated
sad.
playlists are like the new thing. So it's like he just needs 1 or 2 songs to hit every like curated playlist to make money, and it sucks that it's like that's all he cares about is not all he cares about, but like making money and not even caring about how good the music is or the album is anymore. But
there's just got to be a happy medium there for me, like I think we've swerved too far to the other side where it's just like you don't have to put out a 25 song album every year and a half. Like when he said I'm taking a break,
the numbers,
and I'm like, cool, take a break, go away for like 6 years and come back and talk about some real shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying like it's Drake. I'm not saying he's got to tell me stories from like that, make up some bullshit, but like, where's the stuff that's like for like, he's like, again, I think Joe Budden said this better than I ever could, but like, he's bang on with this. Like he's almost 40 and he's rapping about like Twitch stars. Like it doesn't make like, it doesn't compute. Like it's not like, and like, I know Kanye is a very polarizing figure, and Shell, like, I know you and I have talked a lot about him. Totally get why a lot of people are out on the person. And I'm with you. But the music, at least when the album gets put out, I'm like, okay, I get what's like, I'm feeling something. I'm hearing the story behind the music here, which like I personally like. Same with J. Cole. Like it's the same stuff. Like it's like JID for me is a big one. Like his album was amazing this year. I still listen to it front to back because I'm like, this is a great story. I don't know. It's just, I still like that. Call it. I think we're old school, guys. I think that's what we're learning. We're washed.
Seeing Drake with Kai Cenat, I was like, what are we doing here, right? Like this is not necessary. But Drake with Kai Cenat, just like he was with whatever the Bobby, whatever her name was, right? Like he's doing that stuff because it's not for us. He's trying to hit that demographic and keep those kids in, because much like every other business, I feel like every business is run the same now, right? And I'll equate it to something we talked about earlier. I bet you within the OVO camp, there's a Ross Atkins type figure that comes in with the numbers and they're like, hey, here's what the algorithm says on Apple Music. And if we make something that hits this, we make something that hits that, that's worth X amount of dollars. Boom. And that's how these decisions get made on an album by album basis. And that's just that's from the record. If that's not within the OVO camp, that's definitely from Universal Music or whatever the record label is from the top, right? That says you got to hit these.
Clearly cares about it, right? He clearly is influenced by it. Yeah.
It's money. You got to keep like that tour was expensive, right? You got to pay off all that shit. Like that costs a lot of money. So you got to figure out how to get those streams. And as soon as they broke down the game to realize I make an album that has 25 tracks, and my album with 25 tracks compared to your album with 10 tracks is going to be worth more money just based off of having more tracks, and which means more streams. That's like double the streams right there for every time they listen to my album compared to your album. The game's fucked up. The game doesn't matter anymore.
That's such a sad state for music, man. That's such a sad state. Like I hate.
That's why Taylor Swift's the best in the world, man. That's why Taylor Swift's the best in the world.
I'll round it out with this story. Thanksgiving, I know, was last week. Thanksgiving dinner at my house, and one of my nieces was over, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I went to the Drake show on Friday," and she goes, "Oh my god, so you saw Sexy Red?" And I'm like,
"Oh boy." Damn.
I'm like, this is what I mean. This is not, this whole thing is not meant for me. And
I never heard of Sexy Red until like a week and a half ago. Never heard of her.
I thought you were going to say her. Yeah. I thought you were going to say you've never heard of. I was going to say it's you're okay with that.
You're like, no fucking like Yeet. I'm like, who am I supposed to know who this is? Like, first of all, dumb name. Second, like,
oh man.
Yo, wait, have you guys watched Beckham yet?
I did. Yeah. I did watch it.
I have one episode left.
You have one episode left? I'm gonna say that's probably the best sports doc of all time.
It's excellent.
Of all time.
Excellent. It's really, really good.
What?
Of all time. It was
That's
so good.
hot.
What?
That's
Okay, expand. Why the best of all time?
It's funny because like you started and it's fucking Hugo from Succession is like making the doc, and then you start like getting pieces of like Succession in it, and it's like, oh, like the music is kind of like it, like some of the shots, it kind of like feels Succession-y.
Okay. Okay.
I love that, but like Posh Spice was the best.
Still bringing
I think she was one of the winners for sure of the doc. I thought she was really good
for sure.
I was amazed with how much behind the scenes footage they had from like Spice Girls tours and stuff.
Yeah.
Like them watching the World Cup games in New York and stuff. Like that part I thought was cool. The access was cool. And I'm going to ask you guys this. Do you feel like you think this doc was so good because we've never really heard Beckham and Posh speak candidly at all? Ever? Really?
Probably.
I think so. Like, I was really young when all this shit was going down. Like, really young, you know? Like, I was like 10, and I was like, oh, fuck. I didn't realize, like, all this, like, that World Cup where, like, he kind of blew it. I was like, oh, I didn't even know about this. Like, you know, so for me, it was kind of fresh, which I think, like, matters for sure.
Yeah, like, I'm not a soccer fan, and, like, I think seeing some of the stuff was, like, kind of cool. Like, seeing that Real Madrid team and, like, seeing how stacked that team was. Sick, man, like, I never took that in at the time. Yeah. But like seeing it, I was like, oh my God, like they had Ronaldo, the OG Ronaldo on the team. Like, whoa.
How about
and they interviewed him. I was like,
how about the fucking brutal uniforms back in the day, eh? Oh boy. Woo! Long sleeve, like they're as baggy as my hoodie, and they're wearing this to play like high level soccer. I was like, what is this? The 90s were wild. I think because I watched the Steph documentary too on Apple, and then I watched Beckham, and like honestly, it was like night and day because it's like I don't get how guys are doing documentaries now that are still in the league or still playing, and it's like I totally agree.
Just save it, like sit on it for a couple decades, like Beckham. And
well, the one thing about Beckham, and even comparing him to Steph, I feel like there's so much more interesting stuff with the Beckham doc, because like even with everything that we saw through the doc, they could have still went more in depth in so many different angles, right? Like it's breaking down when he went to play for Real Madrid could have been a bigger thing, you know, deeper diving into him and Posh, and how like I thought it was cool how honest they both were about him just being like, okay, now I'm gonna go play there, and she's like, what? Like I thought we were settled here.
We just moved here. We're going like
right? That was dope. I wanted more on the LA stuff, right? Like, hold on. Tell me more about you hanging out with Tom Cruise and Will Smith. Like, I want to know a little bit more about that, right?
Even that Landon Donovan stuff. I don't know if Tones is in that part yet. Where
no, that's the last episode.
No, I don't think I'm there. No,
like even MLS. That was good. That was
Yeah, him going to the MLS and them openly just talking about how shit the MLS is.
Oh my God. Yo, I can't wait till you watch that episode, Tones.
No, but
it's so funny.
It was good.
My wife and I are watching it. She's like really into it. She started watching. I didn't even start. I was like, oh, it's like, you're watching this? She's like, yeah, I really like it. I was like, oh wow, okay, cool.
We'll have a further breakdown. I'm sure Webby's all over that too.
Oh yeah.
Tons of stuff for us to catch up on. And next week we'll come back with what the actual Leaf goal song should be.
We're gonna change it.
The J. Cole verse on the Drake album.